All right, let's get into this here, and we're going to start with our first team, the one, the only, the Cleveland Browns. Yes, the Cleveland Browns, who seem to think the more quarterbacks you have, the better shot that there'll be someone who's actually maybe good at throwing the forward pass. We will see. These Cleveland Browns coming in at 3-14 last year, a little bit of a disaster season. Coincides with likely the last time we see Deshaun Watson, definitely in a Browns uniform there.
Yeah.
Now the losses, we'll go through our losses and additions, and Derek will give us his takeaway on this. So decent amount of change really throughout this whole division. So hold your breath here, folks. Don't hold your breath. Excuse me. If you'd held your breath, you probably wouldn't last. So take those deep breaths. Here we go. DTR is now with the Eagles. Jameis Winston, great locker room guy. Just want to say, amazing pregame speech with my New York Football Giants. Nick Chubb coming off that injury, heading over to the Texans to be there, potentially red zone back. Lost Jedrick Willis, I think, is of note. Someone who they thought was going to be their franchise left tackle and just couldn't stay on the field. So they eventually cut ties there. Safety Juan Thornhill is now a starter for the Steelers. Always interesting when you get a little division rivalry there. They will play twice a year. And now we look at who they brought in. Yes, you are going to notice a lot of repeat in the positions, especially the quarterback and the running back. They brought in Joey Flacco and Kenny P. They drafted Dylan Gabriel, and they did the pity. I guess someone has to take Shedeur Sanders pick, which, hey, to their credit, I think, 5th, 6th round? I mean, he may pay off at that round. I mean, I definitely didn't think it was a first, maybe not a second, but I think it's crazy that he fell that far. And then maybe I messed that up, but Quinshon Judkins, coming out of The Ohio State University, apparently, or unfortunately, in some legal trouble there. And then Dylan Sampson out of Tennessee. Interesting prospect, Harold Fannin Jr., coming out of Bowling Green. I think that's going to be kind of one to watch because what do you do? How do you use them? Deontay Johnson, former Steeler, Panther, Raven, now Brown. Cornelius Lucas coming over from Washington. And then Mason Graham, their first round pick, and a couple other defenders there. So a lot of change. They weren't very good last year. So maybe that's, addition by subtraction. But what is your take on this new look Cleveland Browns roster?
I think the Cleveland Browns really just need to give Guinness Book of World Records a call and just see, hey, is there a world record on, quarterbacks on a roster, quarterbacks that play in a season, quarterbacks that play, there you go, play over 25 years, because they just keep rewriting quarterback record books as far as guys that make starts. But overall, I honestly think this team going into the season, I have similar thoughts as last season, to be honest. I mean, their defense, they didn't make a ton of moves on defense, but their defense has been solid. It should continue to be solid. They had some injury issues last year along the offensive line, but hopefully, well, not hopefully, as a Steelers fan, they kind of come back to the pack as far as the amount of injuries that they had along that offensive line. You mentioned losing Jedrick Willis. They have the big, ginormous mountain of DeJuan Jones moving over to the left tackle spot. It'll be interesting to see if he can fill that spot. Over the last few years, he's been more so on the right side. And like I said,
Where did he play at Ohio State? Did he switch? Solely right, or I know it's been a couple years.
I think he was mainly right, but I'm not going to say
it's a lot of faith.
But yeah, I mean, he is an absolute giant of a dude. It'll be interesting to see how well he fits in at left tackle, just because he can't move very well as a tackle. And with the pass rushers that are in the AFC North, like, you got to have good tackle play. So, I mean, position or wide receivers, running backs, like I said, fairly similar as last year. You lose more, you bring in DJ. who knows what you're going to get from Deontay Johnson.
Yeah, really. That's
The running back room is kind of the interesting one to me. Will Jerome Ford continue to be their RB1, even though he's been kind of so over the last year and a half filling in for Nick Chubb?
Right.
Quinshon Judkins definitely can be a workhorse back, but like you mentioned, he does have some legal issues, and we'll see what comes down the pike from those.
Yeah. Yeah, no. We'll definitely talk about those running backs and wide receivers when we get in the fantasy space. Because of lack of injuries here, actually a very healthy team coming into the year at this point. Really, the only person that's got any type of thing going on is Judkins with his legal issues, which it's just too early to tell if a suspension is coming, when it would be, and yada yada yada. So it's really just conjecture at this point. But let's spend that time talking about the QB room. Who do you think QB1 is going to be week 1? And, who's at week 1, and who would you say finishes the year? I will give my take. I think Joe Flacco is the quarterback QB1 for week 1.
Okay.
He absolutely does not finish the year because he's freaking 55. And, it's just not his thing. I think Shedeur finishes the year.
Okay.
I think before going into the draft, I probably would have said Dylan Gabriel. I think they're going to give one of them the shot to finish the year. I don't think this is going to be a playoff team.
Agreed.
We'll talk about that and everything, but I do think one of them is going to get a shot. But man, I don't know if it's just social media or what, but they're really pumping the Shedeur juice, and it gets to a certain point where you got to sell tickets. And if you're a fan, I think Shedeur Sanders brings a lot more ticket value than Dylan Gabriel does. So I think honestly, I don't know if it's a hot take, but I think they all get a start at some point in the year.
100%.
It's going to be very funny to see the carousel of who's starting this week. It's like a college team, but I think Flacco starts and I think Shedeur finishes. What say you?
So I think you make a lot of great points. I don't think all 4 of them are on the roster week 1.
That's probably fair. Yeah.
I think that Gabriel and Shedeur will both be on the roster. I mean, you just used draft picks to pick those guys up. Kenny Pickett, you got in a trade, so it'll be interesting to see. I don't think they'll necessarily cut Pickett, but they will probably try to get a draft pick back that they would have had to use in the trade to begin with. If they end up going that route, they could ultimately just cut Joe Flacco.
Right.
But my guess is, depending on how preseason looks, how training camp looks, Joe Flacco or Kenny Pickett, one of the two, will not be on the roster week 1. Now,
I think
if they end up cutting Joe Flacco, could they bring him back? Potentially. I wouldn't think so. That's a boneheaded business move. Hey, you weren't good enough for us 6 weeks ago, but all of our guys are injured and suck.
Situations change, man. Flacco's found himself in the league every year, man. So,
but yeah, I think, like you mentioned, I think all 3-4 of them will start at some point.
Yeah.
But I think either Flacco or Pickett, whoever's on the roster, like I said, I don't think either or both of them will be, but one of them will get to start week 1.
Yeah. Last question here. Who do you think gives them the best chance to win right now?
Ooh.
Week 1, this roster, right now, who do you think gives them the best chance?
I would probably say Flacco. Just knowing his history with the team, and
but definitely,
I've seen too much of Kenny Pickett to say Kenny.
Right, and I know he's our pick guy and H2P and all those things, but it's tough, man. It's tough waters out there for the Kenny P defenders. Nothing to do with his hand size, just kind of has really shit the bed with all his opportunities. So I definitely I agree with you that Joe Flacco would not be the best long-term business decision, but I truthfully think that he gives them the best chance to win. So it's an interesting kind of juxtaposition.
Yeah.
All right, let's go over to that fantasy space and let's talk about that running back room that you alluded to there. You've got Jerome Ford, you got Judkins, you've still got Pierre Strong, you've got Dylan Sampson. In the fantasy space, are you avoiding? Are you just taking one of the rookies? I don't really know is anybody clicking the Jerome Ford button. I guess if the price is cheap enough, but he's hard to get excited about, man. He had all the opportunity in the world last year, and he just didn't really do much.
Exactly. And that's where, I mean, I haven't looked to see where either of them are really going at this point. I'm taking a look at that now. If you have that info, that'd be great. But Quinshon Judkins is RB27 right now.
Right.
Um,
I don't even know where Samson, and I think
I
he's the
don't
first one
I
going.
don't even see Jerome Ford on here.
Yeah. So assuming
So it sounds
Sam,
like Dylan Sampson's RB54. I must have
yeah.
just skipped
So
over
free.
one somewhere. But yeah, I think I would probably of the three of them, I would probably prefer Quinshon Judkins.
Right.
But yeah, I don't know if I would necessarily feel super confident with any of them.
Yeah, and that's kind of where I'm at. I would rather pick a flyer on Samson super late or on waivers or just last round or
Yeah,
whatever.
yeah,
Dude was a solid running back at Tennessee.
no doubt.
I hate the
Hard
situation
runner.
he's in right now because I don't understand why the Browns drafted him and double tap at running back. If you have Ford who's serviceable and Pierre Strong, who's also serviceable, right? Why would you kind of do this situation where you kind of muck it up with some rookies?
Right.
I think Judkins has probably the easiest path, but with the legal trouble, and I get it, he's a good running back, but
Yeah.
based on their college play, I mean, I was on a better team, but I'm not sure that he's a much better running back than Dylan Sampson was. I mean, that dude was really. I know you got your bias there, but as much
Well,
as
I mean, yes, but he also did that at Ole Miss too. I mean, he was
right,
the
right,
leading rusher in the SEC before he moved on
right.
up to Columbus, playing with the big boys. So,
Okay. Yeah. Right.
I mean, if
Yeah. He's
I
good.
mean, and I did find Jerome Ford. He's going as RB58. So Samson 54, Ford 58.
So free. Yeah.
Yeah, so both of those guys are free, and
Yeah.
Judkins, you'll have to pay a little bit more for him at RB27. So he's going around guys like Pacheco and Pollard and Caleb Johnson, another AFC North guy.
Okay.
So
Yeah. Yeah. And that's interesting.
I would probably just stay away from all three of them. To be
Yeah.
honest,
I think that's probably the play. Because we don't know, what the left tackle situation is going to look like. Obviously, I don't think people are going to be fearing any of these quarterbacks too much.
yeah.
But speaking of the passing game, wide
And
receiver
I
room.
think they're going to have to throw the ball a lot
Yeah.
because their offense is not going to put up many points.
Yeah. They'll have to figure that out. Wide receiver room.
Yeah.
Jerry Judy. I mean,
Yeah.
obviously went over 1,200 yards last year. Had a solid year.
Yep.
He was really the only one to do much of anything. Are you where are we at with Judy
Yep.
or Deontay Johnson? Do we think Deontay Johnson could? I mean,
Deontay Johnson has fallen so far down the ladder. It's
so
not
quickly.
funny. So quickly. The
Oh
dude just
man.
turned into an absolute head case within a matter of about a year and a half. But I am a Judy fan. I do like me some Jerry Judy.
Okay.
He's a guy that, again, depending on where things fall, he would be a guy that I would be looking to
Yeah.
draft.
Okay. Yeah. I mean, like you said, is this projecting to be a pretty bad team, right? Win total 5.5, coming off a 3-win season. We don't exactly know what the quarterback play is going to look like, but they got to
Yeah.
throw it to somebody, right? And Judy did show that he can kind of have that our wide receiver one potential there.
Yep.
All right. Enough talking about likely one of the worst offenses in the league there. That's because you're probably not doing a ton of fantasy, hunting there. But let's talk and move over to the betting space. 3-14 last season. Win total coming in at 5.5 this year. A little bit of plus money to the over, about plus 125, plus 115, depending where you get it, and then minus 145, minus 140 going the other way. Make playoffs around 8-1. Miss playoffs minus 1,600. To win the AFC North 32-1. To win the AFC up to 130-1. And to win the Super Bowl, you can get it at 300-1 for those Brownies to get their first Super Bowl ever. I can imagine you're not going to be taking any of those, but I will ask out of courtesy, any plays on the win total or the future for this Cleveland Browns team?
I do not, because I think, the Browns defense is going to be solid. It should be solid. So I
Right.
could see them winning 5-6 games.
Right.
I could also see them winning 2.
Correct.
So I do not have a play for those kind of things, but I have a feeling that you do.
I do, and this is we were talking about it offline before the show. This is a tough division, man, because you've got 3 teams that are set to be pretty top heavy. Both with pretty decent
3
win
winning
total
records last year. Yeah.
expectations, right? 3 almost playoff teams with the Bengals just missing there.
Yep.
And then you got the Browns, who I think you kind of hit on it. I am gonna trust a couple things. I'm going to trust the offensive line. I understand left tackle is a bit of a question mark, but they have had one of the better offensive lines. Outside of Jedrick Willis, you bring back Bitonio, Posick, Teller, Conklin, like solid Pro Bowl type guys.
Yep.
And you still got a good defense. And you have a good head coach in Kevin Stefanski, who's won Coach of the Year, I believe, twice now. So, I think that gives them a bit of a floor. I think that will allow them to be competitive. And I think if you can... they always play the division pretty damn well. And I think that they can be a tough out, especially, teams coming there on the road, potentially some bad weather where you have going against a good defense. Maybe they get opportunistic and get some turnovers there. They're playing a 4th place schedule. I will say, even though I am on their over 5.5 at plus 125, it's a bit of a brutal start. You start with Cincy at Baltimore, Green Bay at Detroit, and Minnesota. I believe that game in Minnesota game is in London or somewhere. So it's overseas somewhere.
Okay.
So and then you play at.
They're going 1-4, 0-5. You're saying to start.
I would love to just give me a win. Well, here's what I will say.
I could see their defense absolutely wrecking JJ McCarthy.
I was gonna say the Vikings, and I circle Cincinnati week 1.
Yeah.
Cincinnati has been notorious to drop a game they shouldn't.
No doubt.
We'll get to Survivor eventually, but please, if you have a Survivor, don't waste your week 1 pick on Cincinnati. I'm going to go with the Cleveland Browns there. What player prop do you have for this team?
Yeah, I mentioned that I like Jerry Judy. He did this last year. He had over 1,200 receiving yards. I have him going over 1,000 yet again. Who else are they going to throw it to? I mean, you got Njoku, who should be healthier. You bring in Deontay Johnson that, for all we know, he might, be on a plane or bus or somewhere else going to a different team, 3 weeks in. So, give me Jerry Judy over 1,000 yards at plus 125.
Yeah, no, I like it. I mean, like I said, I think he's really the only one you can probably rely on outside.
I mentioned it earlier. I think they are going to have to throw the ball a lot in the second half of games.
Right. Yeah. Right. I mean, they're look at the win total. You look at all the futures, like they're projected to be behind in a lot of games. Now, I think it'll be a little bit closer, but still, I'm not calling for a 10-win season or anything like that. So, no, I like the Judy play. Then give me David Njoku. I think it's going to be Judy and Njoku in the passing game. You're just going to have to go to your staples. 5+ receiving touchdowns at minus 120 over at DraftKings. He's hit this number in this past 2 seasons, and even the 2 seasons before, 4 and 4 touchdowns. So, I mean, he's been around this number his whole career. In only 11 games last year, he hit this number at 5 touchdowns on the season. He's a red zone threat. He's a dynamic player. I think he's got some value in fantasy. I'd love to know who his quarterback is, but nice thing about tight ends, they're a little bit more quarterback proof than some of these wide receivers. So I like Njoku to get in the end zone there 5 times at least. I think you're just getting a good number here because people are so down on the Browns. Again, I think Stefanski and this defense and the O-line gives them a bit of a floor, and they're not going to, I don't think they're going to be, vying for the number 1 spot. I don't think they're going to be very good, but I think they can get to 6 or 7 wins and Njoku get in the end zone for 5 times.
Yep.
So for these Cleveland Brownies here, neither of us are super high on them. I'm a bit higher. I think that they have a decent floor given their defense, offensive line, Kevin Stefanski. I'm going to go with the over 5.5. Derek is going to target Jerry Judy to get over 1,000 yards again this season, because who else are they throwing the ball to except in the red zone where they get my boy Njoku 5+ touchdowns at minus 120 there. And that's how we see the Cleveland Browns 2025 season playing out.
Thank you for watching the IDP Plus YouTube network. If you enjoyed this video, give it a thumbs up and don't forget to subscribe to our channel. Be sure to tap the bell icon to get notified whenever we upload new content.